This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with Kinda Real Nate. Here's another OMFL production.
Good morning and welcome to Press Pass Live. That's right, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. I am so glad that you have tuned in with us. I am your host, Kinda Real Nate, the commissioner and founder of the OMFL and the Grown Folks online community. And the whole gang is here on an early Saturday morning, which it means a lot because these guys went to bed at 2 and 3 in the morning and worked all day, and yet they still got up here to be able to do a show with us. So let me welcome in the whole crew. We got Dawson with us. We got D. Wayne and, of course, Mr. Maniac. Guys, how you doing this morning? I know the coffee is flowing, the sinuses are dripping, and we're trying to shake it off.
Doing great. Well.
All good in the hood.
Good. I'm glad that you guys are here. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Mr. P. Dizzle is watching. He is live. I think he's at work, too, so even he had to get up here early on a Saturday. And don't make fun of our music, okay? If you don't like our music, go listen to something else. I'm just kind of giving you a hard time. All right, let's just jump right into it. It's been an interesting season, and for me, I think that one of the things that I find super interesting. So let's do this. We're gonna get to the agenda. You guys have studied and done your homework, and we're gonna get to the agenda. But there's something that I was talking to Maniac about before the show started that I kind of had a thought last night as I kind of thought about like what we were going to talk about today and kind of where the league is right now and kind of just how things have been going. And we have really struggled to find the exact settings for all Madden, and we finally did that about a week and a half ago or so when we figured out that the thing that was giving us the biggest issues was the pass blocking, and it's because it was backwards. It's kind of hard to set something when it's actually backwards and you think that you're fixing it and you're actually making it worse. So we finally fixed that. But what I kind of wanted to throw out there, I didn't give you guys a chance to prepare for this because I really did want just your raw thoughts, is throughout the years, there's always been this history, the context of the OMFL has been rules, right? And so sim in today's language basically means, everybody says it means to simulate what you see on Sundays, but it just means you got rules. It means that you have rules that govern your gameplay. And sim is an extremely overused rule, and it means a zillion different things to a zillion different people, and that's why we don't use the language. And we move to the FPR, fair play rules, because in our opinion, we're not trying to simulate what you see on Sundays. We're actually trying to just make things fair and even. But throughout the years, right, there's always been this fine line. So here's like the changing point. Several years ago, I remember having a conversation with like Brady and Outlaw and a couple other guys that are here, and the comment was made, "Oh, I actually print out the rule book and have it sitting in front of me when I play." And it was like, holy cow, like that's not what this is supposed to be. Like it cannot be fun to try to play a game where the rules are so intense or the rules are so in depth that you actually have to like have them printed out and you have to read through them as you play. And so we really started to look at, okay, what are rules that we can get rid of? And so here's my question. I kind of took you the scenic route to get there. But there is a fine line between strategy, building a team that fits your style, and then playing to that strength, and then bending, breaking, skirting, rules, or playing unfair. And so my question to you guys is, is like, when do things cross that line from you, from being very strategic and playing to your strengths and then breaking rules? And the reason I ask that is because I've had a couple games this season where guys definitely lean on something. They definitely lean towards something that they're playing, and how they play with their team, because it's the strength of their team, it's the strength of their gameplay, it's the strength of how their team is built. And though it wasn't breaking the rules, I know that some guys would have a definite problem with it. So that's my question: when do things skirt the rules for you, and go from strategy to actually breaking rules?
Let Maniac handle this one first.
Well, for me, you want to try to be what's the fair play and stuff. You want to try to really hone in on mixing up your plays and stuff. And I think sometimes we may all get into a rut. You're into a game and you're trying to win and stuff, and sometimes you may call a play that you just you kind of feel really more comfortable with than others and stuff. But when it's like every third down, or every real key moment in the game where it's like
Yeah.
you need to make a play, or you've got to make a play, those type of things, and you see those play calls kind of like
Yeah.
every other time or every time, then that's really getting over the limit in my book. Now, if you use it sparingly, and you got to play, and that it's going to make a first down pretty much, like if you got two slants coming across the middle or whatever, and that a guy is calling maybe calling a zone, or that it's going to beat a blitz, or it's going to put pressure, and you call it, you make a first down, fine, you got your first down. But if you start doing that where it's like every other time, then you got to start looking at it like, am I breaking the rules? And in my book, you are really doing that, because for a fact that it's gonna beat it, and you keep going to the well, and you keep drawing from that well.
Yeah.
And that's putting pressure on the AI, because that it's going to have to go with somebody. And unless you got a guy that's a really good, user or something, and I'm talking about, offense versus defense, but the same could be said on defense. If you're calling a blitz on pretty much every third down or every second down,
Yeah.
Those type of things, you need to mix it up, and really, I don't know. It's a slippery slope. Like I said, I think everybody has gotten to a situation where you're going to use a play that's going to work, but you have to really restrain yourself if you really want to play by the rules and play by fair play. You got to really look at what you're doing and say, hey, look, if I know this play is going to work, I'm not going to call it every time, or I'm not going to call it, except for maybe like one play of a game. I'm going to pick a play, or I'm going to pick a down or a situation in the game, and I may use that, but I'm not going to keep going back to it over and over and over.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Dawson, what do you think? You're kind of the quiet guy of the group here, but I know that
Yeah, you threw us a curveball this morning.
I did. I threw you a curveball, but I also know that you guys.
You want our honest opinion. So
yeah, and I also know that you have feelings and you have opinions that you rarely share. So, like, I want to hear those.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess my perspective on the old rules thing is they're set to limit the not, I guess you can say, either the cheesiness or the manipulation of the AI, because when at the end of the day, Madden is not completely. We never be able to compare Madden against real life NFL, or like you said, the sim and all that. I mean, we just gotta get up to the best as we can with the sliders and and we have that. I mean, there might be a few touch and go, in the next couple of weeks when we readjust them, or at the end of the off season or beginning of off season. I don't. To me, I feel like no rules are set because you have to. I mean, you should follow them. You can't just kind of like Maniac was saying, don't just follow one play because you know it's going to work on third down, or even offense. You know that go-to play that you can call, that you can hot route, or you can maneuver your receivers around to know that he's going to get those 10 yards automatically because we're kind of pushing the user linebackers and the user DBs, and the guys are not, myself included, are not very skilled with the usering just yet. So how to manipulate that. So that could be a strategy, or you can say, oh well, it's called every third down. So I mean, technically, it's not strategy because it's going to work. Or it's the go-to play, and I could be wrong on this. And even on defense, okay, it's third down on call zone because it's going to be a passing play. I think it's a fine line as far as the strategy and as far as trying to bend the rules. I feel like the FPR. I know in the beginning when I first got here, the rules were just kind of new, just because I was new to this the whole league, playing against 32 owners, and Dakota might can say the same thing, or he might have a different opinion on it. But the rules were, to me, was, I guess, not overcome, but I mean, I was able to adjust and I was able to learn the rules. I mean, maybe we should get everybody's opinion of this in the league and kind of understand as far as what is bending the rules and what is, like you said, what is strategy and what is, I guess, breaking the rules, or just for that one, that I guess that thirst of trying to win, do whatever you can to win the game and follow through those constant plays. And I mean, I know I'm going off random and off the road, but to me, it is a fine line, and I guess we're all adults here, and being honest, we all want to win, and at the end of the day, we can't let that get over us as far as staying here as far as the community and playing the games that we do like. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that number one, that's a big can of worms that I don't know if I would ever open up to the league, because 32 different guys are going to have 32 different opinions of what's breaking and bending the rules. I'd hate to even see like Brady's, man. Brady's, that dude there's got some really in-depth thoughts. But I will say this, that you brought up an additional point that I was hoping somebody would bring up, and that is user skill. And when do guys cry foul when it's actually just because they need to be better and work on their user skill? Like, that's another fine line of, well, actually, like, this is just a strategy and you need to get better with your skill, and that guy is just better with his skill than you are, or no, actually that guy is not, he's taking advantage of you. So, D. Wayne, what do you think?
Well, you just talking about that right there. That can go back to even the sliders. I think a lot of that is adjusting and skill based. I think some people grasp concepts and just get better quicker than some people do. That's another topic, but I think that, just talking about the sliders and stuff earlier, I think that's, in my opinion, that's a lot to do with it. When we start talking about FPR rules and stuff like that, at this point, I don't know if I could play any other way than what we play. I play every once in a while. I'll play, just head-to-head lobby style playing online, and it's atrocious. I hate it.
Or even playing our friends in the NBC. I know Pootie T's watching it, right? Like, they play different than we do, and that can be difficult.
Yeah, they play a lot better than lobby.
It's not comparing the two at all.
Yeah, they play a lot better than lobby. I do know they have a lot more, and I don't want to say freedom. They're I guess you say rule base is just a little more wide than ours is on allowing some things. And like I said, it works for some people. It doesn't work for some people. I like the set that we have. I think it does close that skill gap and kind of allows everybody to compete. And when I say that, I don't think it limits some people to an extent as much as Dawson and Maniac have both said. It cuts down on a lot of that because you do have some guys, and it's a good thing. Hey, if you're playing lobby league and know all that, hey, it's good to know those. And if you want to play those $1 million Madden tournaments, you're going to have to know how to cheese, and you're going to have to know everything. But that's not here. And so I'm not taking that away from the guys that do know how to do that stuff. My thing about, when it comes to FPR is, I guess I have 2 points that you do have your innocent FPR people who get caught up in the moment or are still new, and they'll do this and do that. And honestly, you can tell sometimes it's an innocent mistake, or it's it's just a rookie mistake per se. I don't want to call anybody a rookie here, but just a rookie FPR mistake. And then you got that on purpose but accident mistake that you see quite often, and from guys that you just know better. And I guess that goes to my next point, as in, and Maniac said it, talking about, third down, they know what play to call, or what defense to call, or that you can fudge this rule right here and get this game-winning touchdown. And I don't know. I think that's where you cross the line, in my opinion. Is you just stretch that rule or stretch that limit right at the right time, and not saying you break it, but you know what you're doing, and you're fudging it, and what you're gonna do. It wins you that game. And I guess I just can't look at it like that. From my perspective, I would rather I guess win with a. To me, I think Dawson and Maniac covered a lot of it. I just think when it comes to FPR, like I said, man, it's kind of like Maniac said, though, on those key downs and stuff like that. I think that's where you see it more, and I think that's where you see the quote unquote eye thirst, as you would call it, is just in those key downs. Fourth quarter, and you need a key play, and you'll see a guy. And it's, I hate to say, I ain't even going to accuse nobody of like ebooks, but you can just see those plays being, I guess you say, backyard drawn up with hot routes. And man, it's just not a good habit to get into here.
Yep. So I'll say a couple of things. Number one, I'm watching my kid play Overwatch while I do this. This is a weird game. I don't understand it. It's this is freaking me out. This is why kids are crazy nowadays. Anyway, the second comment is Pootie T is watching the show. No, Pootie, we would agree. None of us would ever call the NBC lobby ball. It's just different than the OMFL. That's all. And there's some slight different things about it. But no, we're more similar than we are different in our two leagues. And I'll say this. You guys all brought up, I think, some really interesting points. And I think this would be an interesting conversation to have maybe in the off season where we don't have a ton to talk about, but when we start talking about tricking the AI, right, like that to me is crossing the line. When we start talking about, taking advantage of flaws, again, I think that's starting to cross that line. But I do think that sometimes there is a couple of things. Like I think sometimes there are users who don't want to work at their skill, who enjoy playing at a certain level, and who want the rules to help keep everyone at that level. I think also that the game is changing, and some guys want to continue to play it as if it's 17, so play it as if it's 18, and it's not. It is a completely different game that plays different and it has, reacts different. Case in point, we took away the cutback rule. Right? Because nowadays, if you try to cut back by 3 gaps, your guy's going to stop what he's doing, and you're going to get tackled for a 5-yard loss. And so we could get rid of some of those things, and I don't police cutbacks anymore. And if a guy hits a cutback, it's because he earned it, right? And so I don't know. I think it's just a really interesting conversation that I was really thinking about just because of some games that I've had recently, and knowing how I felt playing those games, because I'm like Dwayne. I try to do some homework and watch game film and kind of know what I'm getting into when I walk in. But I know if others would have played a couple of the games that I've had, that they definitely would have been crying foul. All right, let's hop right into the agenda, man, because we kind of spent some time, and I appreciate you guys letting me do that. But let's talk about weeks 8 and weeks 9 here in the OMFL. So many games have come in, and it seems like we're finally hitting our pace. Guys they like the sliders, I think. I mean, this is what's funny about guys, humans, not just the OMFL, just humans in general. Is 4 weeks ago, I have no time. My quarterback takes 2 steps and he's sacked, and there's no time, and you guys need to fix this, and I hate all Madden. We fix it, and now it's like the same people are saying, "Oh, I have all the time in the world now, and it's too much time." And it's I'm like, "Holy cow! Like, can you just be happy for once that you got time?" I think there's some minor tweaks that are still coming, but overall, people seem to be happy. And because they're happy, they're playing these games fast and furious. So we're going to go to Maniac. Give me your one game from week 8 or week 9. We'll even go week 7. I think that we touched on week 7. So 7, 8, or 9. What's your one game that you really thought is your game that you want to talk about?
Well, I looked at all the games that were played and stuff, and there was a few that I didn't know for sure if it was a CPU game, but the one that I chose was from week 9, the Jets and the Dolphins. I'm not sure if that is actually a CPU sim game, but there was some really good stats in that game.
No, I think this one was played.
Okay. The score ended up being the Jets pulled that one out 27-24 with the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins have struggled quite a bit, but I mean this game was really close. Actually, in a lot of the stats, the Dolphins had done a better job for as rushing the ball with their rushing attack. I think they had 150
Can
total.
I just pause you and say, for the guys crying you have too much time, there were still 7 sacks in this game. Just want to point that out.
Yeah. So, there was three sacks by the Jets and 4 by the Dolphins. For me, that's really comparable to the NFL, I think. And the rushing yards, he actually had 130. The Jets did. I don't know if these stats. No, I'm sorry. I'm still asleep.
No. There is I think there's a little glitch. I know that they're working on them, but I think with the new layout, there's some little glitches where stats aren't quite. They're not the same. They're not adding up.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I looked at this in game, and then I've got it pulled up right now in daily, so it looks a little different than what it was in game. Passing yards, the Jets allowed 162, but they also allowed 130 yards rushing. And the Jets, though, they had a very prolific passing attack, though, against the Dolphins, which is kind of one of his Kev's one of his strong points usually in these games is his passing defense, because he has a really stellar rush from Wake and those guys there in Miami. So he's usually on top of that. I don't know what his back seven looks like and stuff. Maybe he's rebuilding there. But it was definitely a very close game. A lot of back and forth. There was first downs or third down percentage was really close. The Jets had 50%, and the Dolphins had 40% on that. Turnovers were right down the middle. Both had 2 penalties. Both had 3. And let me just insert, I do like the penalty slaughter. I think we are actually getting realistic penalties, holding, and those things like that. So I do like the penalties, even though it has killed some drives of mine. I still appreciate it because it's there and it feels real. But those guys played down to the wire, and it just looked like an old-fashioned AFC East matchup that no matter what the records are, these guys were just going down to the wire and battling it out. And that's my game of the week.
Yeah, and both of these teams will be much better in Season 2 and Season 3. And as we progress, I know that they're having a rough season now, but these are 2 very good players and 2 very good teams. Dwayne, who's your game of the week, or the game that you want to talk about from week 6 or week 7, 8, and 9.
I was trying to. I got it marked down. I got it pulled up. I was going to try to tell you what week it was that they actually played this game. I think it's week 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, week 8. I have the Seahawks and Lions game. I personally watched this game. It came down to the wire. Actually, this, if I'm not mistaken, this game was a DC the first time, and it was the Seahawks were, just kicking ass and taking names like usual. And they had DC, and we all know how that works. A lot of times the momentum completely changes. And Lions came out to play that next game, actually held the lead all the way up until the fourth quarter. DBL made a mistake, threw an interception, gave Mo the little bit of breathing room he needed. Mo went down and drove and scored. And as you can see, the Seahawks came away with a 17-13 win. The Seahawks had really just an average day for them. Offensively, 126 yards passing, 105 yards rushing. He was only 20% on third down. He did have 3 turnovers, which, like I said, kept Detroit in the game and kept Detroit in control for most of the game until, just a late turnover on Detroit just at the wrong time. Detroit had 156 yards passing, 74 yards rushing. They were 33% on third down, and they only had 2 turnovers, just one bad one at the wrong time.
Can you tell me how many sacks were in this game total?
I sure can. 6 sacks.
That would be 6 sacks. Okay. For all these guys who are saying they have all day to throw, it doesn't sound like we're that far off from real NFL play. I just want to kind of point that out.
And 4 were from the Lions, if you would have guessed that. And I think, and I don't know if it was Maniac or if it was Cincy the other day that had said the average sacks per team per game was 2 or 3 a game or something like that. And yeah. I do think guys kind of got used to the fact that I think guys maybe they just thought the norm was for teams to have 8, 10, 12 sacks a game, and that's not the norm. This is a lot more normal than that. Wilson had 150 yards passing on, I guess you'd say about 58 to 60% completion percentage, a touchdown, 3 picks. He really went by. He went by, running by committee. Penny, Davis. I'm not even going to try to say McKissick.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
McKissick. They all just pretty much had 3 guys with at least 4 carries, and if you look at the long yards, I think of all those yards he had right there, I think that's like 93 yards. 53 of them came on 3 runs. So he didn't have a real consistent running game all day. He just had a couple good long runs. Tyler Lockett just dominated on the ball. I mean, he just fed him all day. He never did get the long break. We're kind of used to him getting with Lockett. He had 10 catches, 89 yards, with only a long of 24. Janikowski did cook a long kick. I remember watching that. If I'm not mistaken, it's right before the half or something something just went right. Mo did get, key points like that. You're talking about a 4-point game. He gets 3 points right there before the half of a 52-yard field goal with a 42-year-old kicker. Then you have Shaquille Griffin, who, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the leaders in interceptions, has a pick. Wagner has a pick and a sack. His import, Galette. I think we went over mispronunciation.
Yeah, I think it's Galette.
Galette. I still can't say it right.
It's all right.
He had a sack and a forced fumble, and like I said, he is impacted as import player.
That guy's a stud.
And then you go over to the DBL and the Lions, and then like I said, man, I love Mo to death, but DBL earned this win. He had this win the whole game. He played a grinded-out game, which is how you have to play Mo. Stafford, 11 for 21, 163 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And like I keep reiterating here, one just horrible bad pick at the end of the game. Blount, 8 rushes, 39 yards. Washington, 26 yards on 13 carries. He didn't have a whole lot going for him either. If I'm not mistaken, his rookie was either hurt this game. Keon Johnson, if I could be, I know it's Keon something. He was hurt, and I think it really hurt DBL. Like I said, trying to control the game. If he could have ran the ball better, he probably could have kept the ball out of Mo's hands and maybe not tried to force a pass at the end. Marvin Jones, 5 catches, 88 yards, a touchdown, 1 long ball. Golden Tate, you're going to get 50, 60 yards of him no matter what every game. Defensively, you had Potter, Robinson, Zettel, Poe, all with the sack, and he had 3 interceptions. Like I said, I think DBL played this game exactly how you play it to beat Mo, and I think Mo would even tell you that he got lucky and came out of this one to win. 0-0 played perfect for 3 quarters and 8 minutes. You just can't afford to mess up against Mo. Even with Mo throwing 3 interceptions, you just can't afford to mess up against him. This was a great game. This is a game that, like I said, it's a true OMFL game. 2 good defensive teams that just slugged it out all game. And like I said, this is my game of the week.
Yeah, there were some really good games, and that's definitely one of them. And 00 is the hardest guy on himself, but his team's still at 4-4. He hung in there with a 4-time back-to-back current champion. That's something to be proud of. So, Dawson, you're the last guy standing on the list here. Who is your game that you want to talk about from week 7, 8, or 9?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Week 9 matchup between the Titans and the Cowboys. Bill and this Titans end up beating Massimo to 13-0. I picked this game mainly because Cowboys lost, so it's still giving Redskins a little bit of hope throughout the season. But mainly, it was a low-scoring game. It was a defensive game, and we all know Bill can scrape and fight his way out of those type of games. Just looking at the box score, Bill forced Massimo into a few turnovers early, 2 interceptions for Dak. I know that's not good for those Cowboy fans, but also the offense just couldn't get the ball going. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. I might need to watch some of this tape. You can't get the ball going. That's always a recipe for a disaster. And I think Zeke he was 40 rushing yards off 11 attempts, a total of 46 rushing yards allowed for those Titans defense, a total of 4 sacks, 3 sacks by Titans, and 1 sack by the Cowboys. Just kind of looking back over, early in the season, Bill was kind of quietly snuck back in the AFC hunt.
Yeah, he has.
I think he was like 0-2 or maybe 1-1 or 1-2 early, and now he's won 6 straight. Much like my Redskins, Massimo and the Cowboys just haven't really found the secret ingredient to win this season. And I think Cowboys are now sitting at 3-5, and Titans are sitting at 6-2 for week 10.
Yeah, I just kind of want to confirm this, but all 3 of the games that you guys picked all had sacks?
Yes.
Yes.
You mean
Yes.
there are no games with no sacks?
Well,
Okay.
now, just I do want to say that since the last 2 games for me, I've only had 1 sack. So, but I mean, like I said, that's normal as far as the NFL. If you kind of look at the numbers, I'm not sure who did in the main chat, but there's actually looked at the NFL numbers and looked at what we're doing right now, and those are pretty similar. I've only had 1 sack within 2 games, but then again, I mean, I am playing with the Redskins defense, so. But yeah.
Well, it is. Your Redskins are pretty good, and there have been, there will be. I mean, there's some slight minor adjustments, but it's close. It's not far away.
Yeah.
And guys who are making it sound like,
opinion.
like it's so far away. It's not the opposite of what it was. It's definitely not that. It's very, very close. So let's talk about the NFC. We're going to actually talk about both the NFC and AFC playoffs or kind of standings, because I caught some interesting things as I started to prepare for the agenda. The Atlanta Falcons, which is not unusual, that Dwayne and his Atlanta Falcons in Madden 17 kind of ruled the roost. But they got a brand new owner over there in D-Money, but the Atlanta Falcons are atop the NFC at 8-1. But very quietly, there have been some other teams that have kept pace. The Seattle Seahawks are at 5-2-1. The Giants are at 5-3. Tampa Bay is right there at 4-4. The Lions at 4-4. The Packers at 4-4. But quietly, very, very quietly, the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers have both put together very good seasons at 7-2, and they are right on the heels of the Atlanta Falcons. And so my question that I'd like to kind of talk about, and Dawson, I want to start with you, is do we think that either of these teams can overtake the Atlanta Falcons? Do we think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to make a run here? Or are the Atlanta Falcons kind of the gold standard of the NFC?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's possible. With these teams. What was that? But Yeah, if you look at the 49ers, they do still got to play the Seahawks twice again. Then they got to play the Bears, and Outlaw with that defense is pretty tough. And then if you look over to the Vikings, you did get a sim win over the Saints, so it should be I guess a little
I'm still
placeholder on
salty as
there.
hell over that too.
But he still got some tough teams to play as well. You got the Seahawks, and he's still got majority of his division rivals to play again. So that can be a hit and miss right there, especially the way Packers, Lions, and even the Bears are playing right now. I think he grabbed a upset win. I think either last week or the week before. I recently played the Falcons. I think that was Thursday night, and I had the win for a brief moment, but I guess I forgot Julio played for the Falcons because I didn't have any safety help on over the top.
Oh, that's a
He
heartbreaker.
just burned me for a Hail Mary touchdown.
You play the
with that being
Falcons, you always have safety help.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess it was late at night. With that being said, I think guys can stop the Falcons. If you just watch my game, I guess he messed up early on. And I was able to take advantage of it. I wasn't throwing those 4 or 5 picks a game that I was the last few games. I actually only threw for 1 pick, so that kind of helped me out, and it just kept me in the game. He does, looking at the remaining schedule, he does have to play all of his division rivals again. The Packers, they're fighting for a playoff spot. Ravens, they're fighting for a playoff spot. So he's got some tough teams going ahead, and we already know that team was loaded, and especially with the moves that Dritch has made early on. That team is even more ready to the win now. Not sure what his contingency plan going forward, especially with some of those contracts coming up. But I mean, I guess he worry about that another day.
Best DB combo in the league by far.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see the 49ers going over, but it will be interesting to see if 49ers can go over the Seahawks. The Seahawks, they kind of rule the roost over there for a number of seasons now. So, but to say that Seahawks are still in it, they're 5-2-1, and they can still easily come out and win the rest of the games and win that division. I think there's a lot of football games left, especially in the AFC, which we'll talk about that later. But especially, but also in the NFC, there's still, I think, from looking at the standings, there's still like 8 or 9 teams are still competing for the playoff spot. So there's still a lot of games going on for this second part of the season.
Yeah, especially in that Seahawks division, that NFC West, the Rams can make you pay if you show up off your game. The Rams will definitely make you pay. Dwayne, who is the gold standard here in the NFC?
Well, I don't think. I think the Falcons, like I said, are your team to beat. I was just looking over some of the stuff they have had. He's 8-1 on the season, but he has had 5 games decided by 1 touchdown or less. And I think I've said that in the past podcast before that it says a lot about a team that it takes. That's the difference between a playoff team and a regular team is winning those close games.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if you look at Mo's point differential, he's 5-2-1 with a 14-point win differential. So he's winning close games as well. And I just look at, like the Falcons right there. Sometimes those games don't go your way and slip real quick. And somebody like Big Hurt, you can't sleep on Big Hurt. I don't care who you are. I remember when I first got here, he was the Cowboys. And everywhere he's went, he's been successful. He has a very explosive offense. He has a very aggressive defense. I think the Vikings are a team, like I said, they've kind of got lucky, kind of like you said, that sim win against you, Nate. I just want to rub a little more salt on that. And I think you look at somebody like that, and like I said, you need breaks. Hey, in this league, you'll take every break you can get within reason. And but 7-2, and he's in a tough division. I think, like I said, we talk about the 49ers, they're in a super tough division. And if any of us ever sleep on Mo, and I know that Mo wants us to sleep on him, he wants us to forget about him, and it's not going to happen. I don't think Mo wins that division, honestly. I don't think Mo actually he'll probably play in the wild card round. But if you don't put Mo in your favorites, coming out of that NFC, then you're if I was a bet man, I'm putting it on Mo. But you got teams right there, and I know you got the 49ers and Vikings right there on the heels of the Falcons, but you got the Packers team, you got the Buccaneers, you got the Saints, you got the Eagles who have won 3 in a row, and you can never count somebody like Andrew out in that conversation. And I know that he's 5 games back of the first place, but seeding only goes so far when you go to the playoffs. If I always say that about the Giants in real life. Is the worst team you want to see in the playoffs is the Eli-led Giants team, just because he gets in the playoffs and things happen. And I think that's the OMFL too. I think the whole thing is just getting the playoffs. And you got, like I said, you still got 13 teams with 3 wins, and that's within 1 win of a playoff spot right now. And
Yep.
I think you got to look at all those teams. If you just get your foot in the door, anything can happen in the playoffs. And I think, us 4 that are here today have all been in the playoffs and have moved deep in the playoffs. And I think we've all seen crazy things happen in the playoffs in the OMFL.
Whoa. Let's be easy with that going deep in the playoffs. Okay.
It's just anything can happen if you get in the playoffs. And I think, I do think the Falcons probably will run away with that number 1 seed. I think they're just, man, Dr. Dawson said it well, and I've always said that when I had the Falcons. The Falcons are a great team out of the box. They have some, especially on offensive side of the ball, they have so many weapons and so much. And like I said, they added Calvin Ridley, who is a great, young, fast receiver, and I keyword fast, because you got Ridley and Julio, and, man, that's 2 guys Dawson said, he just a mental lapse and just didn't have a safety over the top on Julio. And like I said, his cornerback played the ball well. It's just Julio's the best receiver in the game, in my opinion. And it's just, man, you got 2 guys in the Falcons right there that can go deep every play. And I just think the Falcons will win that number 1 seed in the NFC. But like I said, you got 13 teams right now that are still within a game of playoff reach. And I just think any of those guys get their foot in the door. And I've seen guys play with the Falcons this year. I mean, like I said, I've watched 5 games within a touchdown. It's anybody's game in the NFC.
Yeah, it's wide open. And Pootie T, how dare you ask EA to look at spin moves? Don't you know that they're making tape for arms? I mean, these are very busy men, so you should leave them alone and let them continue to make their tape and not worry about gameplay. Let's throw this over to Maniac. Maniac, who do you think is going to float to the top of the NFC here, or the gold standard of the NFC? And I will say, you're not going to say it, but I'm going to give you credit. Your Bucs team, you've lost some tough games here, but you've got the thing figured out. You've got that team figured out. And look, we still got a lot of football to be played here. Don't count yourself out. But who do you think is the gold standard here in the NFC?
Well, I mean, the easy route is obviously the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, I've already played him once, and the game was an absolute slobber knocker. Julio Jones, though, is just a beast among boys. I mean, he is a man among boys in this OMFL. But right now I'm gonna buck the trend here, and I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. I think Big Hurt, and the games that I've watched and his stats that I'm seeing, and just for the simple fact, the way that he has won some of his games, he is a defensive lockdown man. I mean, he has things locked down on defense. I've watched the guys; they have no time whatsoever to pass the ball. Everything's covered, and he just wills you in submission, basically, for himself, and he'll just take a win from you. That team is playing what I anticipated that 49ers team to play when the season first got going, and I just really felt like the 49ers were going to be a really good squad to play with. Now, Big Hurt, he's only allowing 13 points a game. That's like 3rd in the league right now, which I think the top 3 are very, very close, within like a point or so of that. And but he's only allowing 204 yards a game. Passing yards, he is first, only 119 passing yards given up a game. And his rush defense is 11th, and he's given up 85.2 yards a game. His defense is just smothering. And if there's anybody that can challenge those Falcons from this early standpoint, it is Big Hurt in those 49ers. Like I said, he's got the young defensive team. He's got a lot of speed on defense, but he's also got the wily veterans like Sherman on the outside that's going to be able to cover Julio Jones. And I know he's not fast, but I've noticed in this Madden, if the really good cornerbacks get their hands on wide receivers, it's hard for them to get open downfield. And so it would be, to me, that would be a very big time matchup that you'd see how things would play out. The top receiver against one of the top cornerbacks in the league. And I think it would be right down the wire, but I would give the nod to Big Hurt and those 49ers just because of the defense that he brings.
Yeah, excuse me. Look, the Big Hurt, it seems like, always finds a way to kind of fly underneath the radar.
Mm-hmm.
When he was in the NFC, way back in the day when he was in the AFC last Madden, like, he always has one of those really, really, really good teams. And yet, he seems to fly under the radar and not get a whole lot of attention. But I would personally have to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I've played them. Of course, me and Maniac get to play him twice a season, every season. And when I played him the first time, and I still have to have the second matchup with the new adjusted sliders. But that first matchup, there were 0 passing lanes. I mean, literally, he just calls man defense almost every play all game because his guys blanket your receivers, and there was nothing open. There were no opportunities to pass the ball. Best DBs that I've ever seen, and by far the best DBs I've ever had to face here in the OMFL. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely get my vote. I think he is the cream of the crop. The team, though, that we've all acknowledged that you have to watch for is going to be Mo and those Seahawks, man. He is just way, way, way too good to not make a comeback here. And once you get in the playoffs, all bets are off. Everybody's at 0-0, and it's who can win this week. And if I ever need to win a Madden game, if my life depended on a game of Madden, since Dwayne is no longer in the NFC, I'm picking Mo because that guy knows how to win. So let's look at the AFC. Now, things have slightly changed here because a couple teams have played their Week 10 game, but the 6-3 team, the 6-2 team, I should say, they're all the rage here in the AFC. Now, of course, the Texans and the Bengals have both played their week. Even the Chargers and Patriots have played their Week 10 game. But the Titans, the Colts, the Patriots, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Texans were all sitting at 6-2 whenever this agenda was made. Now you've got Houston and the Cincinnati Bengals at 7-2. You got the Chargers and the Patriots at 6-3. The Colts and the Titans have yet to play Week 10, so they're sitting at 6-2. But who do we think is going to kind of float to the top here in the AFC? Dwayne, I'm going to let you get this one started. Who's going to float to the top and finally take over power here in the AFC?
Well, it's like I said, you're kind of a log jam, really. But the top 9 teams are within 2 games right now, and but I'll tell you the most impressive team that I've watched so far this season and played once was the Texans. The Texans have been real sharp offensively. Like I said, they're averaging 25 points a game, only giving up 15, and in a game where it's been such a defensive heavy. So far this season, it really hasn't hindered him a whole lot. He's played really well. He's 3-0 in the division. He's 5-0 on the road. He's a tough guy to play. Cincy, of course, we all know. He escaped New Orleans last night with the win, and he's had a couple close wins this year.
Why do you keep hurting my heart this morning? I don't understand what I did. It's my birthday. You're supposed to be nice to me at least today, and you keep hurting my heart with all this old stuff.
I was singing the Who Dat song for you last night.
You were.
Cincy, I mean, you can't ever count out Cincy. Cincy will be a perennial contender every season. I don't think it matters really what team he has. I just think the system he plays with is dynamic and aggressive offensively, and he's such a good user on the defensive line, as you've seen our defensive side. That's what I was looking for. That he can just shut down the middle of the field, as like I said last night. You've seen, the ball's 15 yards behind him, and that linebacker just makes a crazy play and gets the ball. I'm sorry.
Or
but then you go down the
double
list,
tipped missed interception that was caught for a 50-yard gain that set up a touchdown. That too.
Titans with Bill are always going to be a juggernaut team because he.
Or the ball that bounced off my receiver's head and was picked off. I mean, we can keep on if we just want to keep on that.
You have pretty rough birthday luck. It hasn't been good for birthday guys this week. Dawson lost on his birthday to Hail Mary. You lost on your birthday to Wild Tips. I'm glad my birthday's not for a little bit. But you got teams in this side, and honestly, I think, like I said, I played Jacksonville this week, and Brady has been kind of a resurgence because the last couple of seasons of last Madden, he was just gone, and I think he has showed resurgence, and I think he had won. He was 5-1 until he lost the last 2 games. I think he'll be looking for blood when he comes to play me this week. But like I said, you have the Patriots who've won 5 in a row. The Chargers have been on a roll up until they ran into the Raiders. Man, it's just a logjam right now. Honestly, I think it's the Texans that are going to create separation right now until somebody stops them. I just think he's won the games he's supposed to win. He's beat 3 teams in his division who are all just breathing down his neck right now. He's won the big games. And Cincy, like I said, after I'm not trying to rub Cincy when I say that. After I've had such an emotional victory week 1 against him. I think it went both ways with this. I think it's just fueled the fire with him. And like I said, he's won 6 out of the last 7 games, or 7 out of the last 8 games. I'm sorry. I think it's the Texans AFC until somebody proves them wrong. I think he's won all the big games. And the only advice I would have to him is don't overlook anybody, because I think his 2 losses this season, if I'm not mistaken, were games that he should have won. I think one of them was the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. No, the Bills, and I think he lost the Cowboys and Bills. And I know no disrespect to either team. That's two games after the way he's played this season that he should have won. And if I had any advice for him, just don't overlook anybody.
Yep, I agree with you, and I think it's hilarious that you didn't even mention the Colts, your own very team. All right, we're going over to Maniac. Maniac, who's going to float to the top here in the AFC?
Well, D. Wayne did not mention the Colts, but guess what? I'm going to mention it quite often. So, my team for the AFC is the Colts, obviously. Dwayne is he's a powerhouse, and I know he don't give himself enough credit like that he should. He is first in every category that you could even conjure up on offense. I mean, he's first in points, first in yards, first in passing yards, first in rushing yards, and he's probably first in imaginary whatever yards. His rushing attack is by far and bar none the best in this league. And when you're able to control the ball like that in this Madden, I think it is more key than it ever has been before. Just for the simple fact, the way the defense plays, it plays a lot more stouter than it did in Madden 18. Corners and safeties are able to cover better this Madden. And if you're able to control the ball like Dwayne can with that rushing attack, you're going to be able to come out on top more than not in games. And his defense is nothing to sneeze at either. He is first in a lot of categories in this as well. He's tied for third, which the Day League says fourth, but 13 points given up, just like with the San Francisco 49ers. Got a very good defense as far as giving up points. Rushing yards, total yards, he's first. 233 given up. Passing yards defense, second behind 49ers. And his rush defense is first, only giving up 76 yards a game. His key players right now that he's got on his team, which he's got Earl Thomas. And of course, we know the movement that Dwayne likes to have in the safety department. And he has probably the best back seven, especially those safeties and stuff that are able to cover zones and come up and lay some huge hits, and that's, to me, that's a big key for him, and I know that's what he goes towards whenever he's making his off-season adjustments for his roster. But it definitely has seemed to pay off. And the big guy that has been a big surprise for me, which is his defensive end, Jabal. He is in the top 3 or 4 in the OMFL in sacks. He gets after the quarterback, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of time the quarterbacks are having to hold on to the ball, because he's got the guys back in the back that can cover, and those safeties. To me, I think it's a really big key for him. But on the offensive side, the guy that is basically a no-name, which Bo Scarborough, the dude is just dominating. 6.3 yards average a rush. And if you can do that, I mean, it's going to be a long, long day for the opposing defense. And he's a sledgehammer. And I see all these other guys in the AFC. I know we've got those guys, Houston, Cincy, and the only other team that I think has really impressed me that I was not really sure of was the Los Angeles Chargers. He came out with a big win against Mo. But when it all comes down and when the dust is settled, I guarantee you the Indianapolis Colts are going to be the cream of the crop from the AFC.
All right, Mr. Dawson, it's your turn. Who do you think is going to rise to the top here in the AFC?
Well, there's several good teams out there with good records, which just means that there's going to be a lot of good games each week during the rest of the season. For my Redskins, we had to play 3 of those top AFC teams: the Texans, the Titans, and the Jaguars. So hopefully I'll be able to bust some of those standings up a bit. But yeah, just looking at the standings right now, you can probably see about 10 teams already is still competing for that playoff spot. Some you can see with New England Patriots with his division rivals. If he wins a couple more games, he would have that division sealed up. So that's one playoff spot already taken out. We all knew that the AFC South division would be pretty tough, especially with Dakota and Bill coming in. And I would say, I think to a lot of guys, the surprise, if we did a surprise team so far, it would be the Houston Texans. I think mainly just because we don't really see UNV very much in the Met chat. We just look at this record and looking at that based off what he's done so far in the first part of the season, he's pretty good. But there's always the second part of the season. He's still got to play a lot of his team, a lot of his division rivals. I think he's got to play everybody at once, I think. So yeah, and I think just there's too many games left to decide a top AOC team right at the moment, unless you go with a clear favorite or the usual team that's up there with the Bengals. He kind of stumbled off out the gate with the Colts, and I think he lost to the Falcons. Those are the only 2 teams he lost. But yeah, I feel I would have to go with Bengals right now. But with the next podcast, it could change to another team. You can add the Chargers because they're 6-2. They got a big loss last night in Week 10, the Raiders. So you can even add the Raiders in there. So both of them are going to compete for the division. And only one, the way the team's loaded, especially with the AFC South. You can pretty much see at least two teams in the AFC South grabbing those 2 wild card spots.
Nate,
Yep.
if I could add something before we jump off this, 2 things. You're gonna have some 10-win teams that don't make the playoffs in the AFC. I just have that feeling. You're gonna have some really hurt people. And 2, one team that I really overlooked when I was going through there, and it has really impressed me this year for a multiple reasons. I think he plays. I know this is going to sound odd when I say he plays too clean. I think he's so scared to break the rules that he holds back on how good his team could be. And I say that when I tread that real lightly when I say that, and I say that as I don't think anybody should break the rules to win. I just don't think he plays as good as he could because I think he really is scared to cross that line. He just doesn't want anybody mad at him, and that's the Ravens. I think the Ravens have the most dynamic quarterback that he will not use. I messaged him the other day and told him, I said, Andrew Luck, and I don't run the ball with my quarterback unless I get booted out of the pocket. I said Andrew Luck has 194 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson has 94 yards rushing. I said there's something wrong. I said there's nothing wrong with using what your team has within reason. But I think even outside Lamar Jackson, who I think he is going to groom into be a good quarterback, he is one of the best defenses. I know statistically they're kind of thrown off right now, but for most of this season, he was one of the top 1 or 2 teams with pass defense. I think he's a team that once he gets some guys in there, I think he will give Cincy a run in that AFC North. And he's kind of my sleeper team, and I know that we were talking about favorites, but he is really my sleeper team. And if I could just reiterate something, that, hey, use Lamar Jackson. Use Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I mean,
and
look,
I'm on the low cheering for you. So
Mackey's one of my favorite people. He zoned the hell out of me the other day when I played him, but he is one of my favorite people here. And yeah, I feel like he is learning how to play this game. He's learning how to play it in a competitive and fair play type of league. This is his first ever Madden league. He actually joined here to be a part of the wrestling group, and Madden has kind of pulled him away. Not only does he play here, he is part of the leadership in the OMFL too. He is just a jewel of a person, and we're super great that he's here. I'm going to make my comments brief. Excuse me. But I have to go with the Indianapolis Colts. Again, the guy is allowing 76 rushing yards a game, and he's only getting just 176 for his own team. So he's actually scoring 100 more points or 100 more rushing yards than everyone else that he plays, and that's just absolutely crazy to me. And the guy is scoring 26 points a game, only allowing 13 points a game. Just another dominant play from Dwayne. Now that he's in the AFC, and people can't say, well, because he uses that excuse with me that it was, all his Atlanta Falcons out of the box and how great they were. And you can't use that with the Colts. They are not that great out of the box, and yet he's still figuring out a way to win with them. And that brings us to our owner-submitted questions section now. There was a couple of questions that we wanted to kind of save from the last week. Let me just go back here and see if I can find. I know Dwayne's was definitely one that we wanted to do. Dwayne and I kind of talked about Braves. Let's talk about Dwayne's questions. And we'll throw this one out here right now to you guys. He says, what do you prefer in a quarterback, a huge arm, pinpoint accuracy, or mobility? And so, Maniac, we'll start with you, and then we'll go Dawson. We'll let Dwayne wrap it up since it's his question. But what do you guys look for whenever you think about a quarterback? You like the big arm, pinpoint accuracy, or are you looking for a guy that's mobile?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm looking for, really, to be honest, in this Madden. I know last Madden I wanted a big arm guy that had the ability to throw all passes and get the pass out there, especially those medium to deep routes. And I think it's very similar to this Madden also as well. I think so far with this Madden, if I had to just really pinpoint a couple things that I really want to look towards is you need accuracy. I think accuracy is a little bit more than throwing power this Madden, because I've got Winston that can I think he has like 93 or 94 throw power, and but on some of the medium deep routes, if you do anything for us like trying to throw a high pass, I've done it like 3 or 4 times, and he's thrown it like 20 yards above my receiver right to the safety. So if I had to say, I think probably the most important thing is pinpoint accuracy. And then the other thing is, I think you need to have a quarterback that has a little bit of mobility to him, because just the simple fact of the way the rush has been, I know with the sliders and stuff, it has definitely helped towards the pocket passer. But I still think you need a quarterback that's got a little wiggle to him, that's able to get out of the pocket, especially if he's rush and you have those ends coming on the outside. You need to be able to step up in the pocket, and if that lane is given to you, take it, get 4 or 5 yards. Don't just force every ball into those tight windows, because they are tight this year. And if you don't have the pinpoint accuracy, it's going to be trouble in the making.
Yep, I totally agree with you. Dawson, what do you think? Big arm, running legs, or accuracy?
Yeah, I think accuracy is the main. I guess what I prefer for a quarterback. The throwing power and the running ability, those all look flashy and look cool. Especially when you get the option going and throwing deep to your receivers and all that. But that's just not my style. I just can't do that, or I'll throw 5 or 6 picks a game. So I prefer the accuracy. Even with Alex Smith accuracy, I'm still throwing interceptions. So I know his contract. I know he's regressing. He's up there in age. So I will be need to find a quarterback within the next few seasons. And what I look at for a quarterback will be the accuracy.
Yeah, I think for me, before I let Dwayne answer his own question, I think, look, the first thing that comes to mind is a big arm. It's something that we don't allow to be worked on here. Now with the new settings, we can't really control that a whole lot. But I definitely would say big arm, just because you either have it or you don't. And you need to be able to make all the throws. So I want a big arm quarterback. But like Maniac brought up, I think I have moved more towards a balance between a good arm and some mobility. I personally want some mobility. I want an Andrew Luck type of player, a guy that if I need to escape, if I need to roll out, if I need to make something happen because I'm getting zoned to death, then I can make that happen. So, Dwayne, what are you looking for? What's your favorite thing in a quarterback?
Well, I think y'all said it there. I like the pinpoint accuracy. I can deal with a slightly below average, arm per se. I don't really air it out a whole lot. I have tried to add that to my arsenal a little bit. I just, how I am. I'm Mr. Conservative, and the risk doesn't the reward doesn't outweigh the risk on those deep throws. So I'd like the accuracy, especially with the way the defenders close down this Madden. But as in, like you just said, I do like a little bit of mobility. I think that, bless you, I think that's one way that you kind of make guys, especially punish for playing too much zone, or you punish them for taking that user linebacker and kind of getting a little bit wild. And let's say you escape the pocket. I kind of reiterated about Luck having 194 yards rushing, but I average less than 3 rushes a game with him. I just think sometimes, man, you just – and I tried to tell – I try to give you tell Dawson that, sometimes, especially that user linebacker, when he follows that guy across the field and you're just there, I mean, rather than taking a sack, just, you're within reason, you're okay to take off and make that guy pay, make that guy be more honest, and be able to move with that quarterback kind of makes that defense second guess. And I've been lucky. I know luck, no pun. That Luck is deceptively quick. He's 83 speed, 88, 86 acceleration. And so he kind of makes defenses pay for playing too far back in coverage. So, I mean, it's kind of a catch-22 there. I do like the accuracy, but I can't have a lame duck in the pocket. Not with the guys that we have here. I just think if you're a lame duck in the pocket, you just really limit yourself to what your offense can do.
I agree, which is why I went out and one of my number one signings was this little quarterback from Texas A&M, Knight. He's got a nice arm and he's got some legs, and I'm hoping he is my answer to the future for the quarterback of the Saints after Drew Brees is done playing. There's a lot of really great questions, but we're already probably, an hour and 15 minutes deep into this podcast. It's super early, and the wife just gave me the wrap it up sign because she's taking me off to a movie for my birthday. So we're going to save some of these. We're not going to skip them. We're actually going to save a couple of them. But there are 2 more that I want to kind of hit up. D-Money's question about the draft, we're going to save that one. We're going to save the hit power Outlaw, I think we talked about the Chargers and Niners being legitimate teams this season, kind of when we talked about the AFC and the NFC. So I'm not going to take that one. We're definitely going to save your hit power one, though. But let's talk about Maniac's own question about his own team. And these are two questions. We'll take them both. I think it's so funny that guys give their own questions about their own teams. So Maniac wants to know, do you think the Bucs can get a rushing game? Week 10 has no rushing touchdowns. And then what's the over-under? Maniac goes the whole season with no rushing touchdowns. I think the over-under is going to be about 5. I think that's a good over-under number. But Dawson, what do you think about these two questions? Can the Bucs get a rushing game? And what's the over-under number for their touchdowns on the season?
Well, we actually play in week 10, so I'll keep this short. I won't give you any tips or any suggestions on what to do until week 11. I'm going to go with the over on 5 just because I know once we get at the tail end of the season, no rushing touchdowns. I'm not sure what the philosophy is, but just I'll keep it up until week 11, and then we'll work on that until week 11.
That's so funny. All right, D-Wayne, what do you think about the Bucs and their rushing game?
I think it's over as well. I think it'll be over 5 touchdowns. I think as the season progresses, he'll get to where he will figure out the running game. And I will say this: it is hard to run inside the 5, inside the 10. Guys, rightfully so. They'll put guys in the box and make you pass the ball. Some guys are just stubborn like me and just gonna run the ball 3 times up the middle. And if you stop me, I'll kick a field goal. So that's where I go back to some of these teams that have rushing touchdowns, and quite a few of them is just keep pounding and hope that you just get through. But if you look through his rushing stats, he hasn't had a great season rushing yet. I don't think it'll continue that way. And just like I was talking about, and this doesn't really work towards maybe the touchdowns because I'm not a big fan of running my quarterback inside the 10-yard line for a touchdown. But I would like to see Winston run the ball a little bit. I know he's not super fast, but I know that people respect Maniac's passing game enough that they do drop deep. And I do think, and I hate to say cheap yards, but that is a way to open up the running game and get guys going. And I think running game's a momentum thing. And I say that with Scarborough, and it's a momentum thing. Just everything falls forward and falls forward and falls forward. And I think Maniac will. I think he's going to stay ahead. I think he's just going to keep running the ball, and you keep running the ball, and eventually you're going to find success.
Yep, I completely agree. Look, I rushed really well before we start messing with sliders, and then it all went to poop. And then I started figuring it out against the Rams and had a really good rushing game. And then we DC'd under 2 minutes left to go, and I had to take sim game stats, which kind of threw all of that rushing game stats away, and really, was frustrating. But look, I think Maniac's going to get it figured out. It's just going to take him some time to build that offensive line. For the Bucs, it's not the greatest thing in the whole world. He doesn't have the greatest running backs in the whole world. It's just going to take him a little time. And Pootie T, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Pootie T also said he wants a big arm quarterback. So yeah, I think that it's going to be the over-under number is a good number of a 5. I think that's going to be a good number to kind of aim for. And I think that he'll be able to at least hit that. I don't know if he'll be able to go over that because we're starting to get late. But Maniac, you're going to get it figured out. And what do you think have been like the cause of your struggles with the running game? Because in my opinion, it's just a combination of both your offensive line and your running back situation.
Yeah, I think the offensive line is pretty weak as far as the run blocking stats. I actually have a pretty good passing block stats on my offensive line, but I've also went with the youth movement and started my rookie Ronald Jones, and he's slowly starting to work up, but I think it's just the fact that I'm not able to get those guards to make any kind of movement inside.
Yeah,
and I'm not a guy that likes to bounce the ball outside or run a lot of tosses or sweeps and that nature. I want to get the hard nose yards up the middle, and I just haven't had that ability to get those yet. But I'm going to keep pounding at it. And I know I did actually get one touchdown the other day, and of course, my guard held, and so that got nullified. But my over and under, if I had to say, I'm probably going to end up with maybe 3 on the end of the season, but definitely it's not going to be because I'm not trying, because I'm definitely going to put the effort in and try.
If I've learned anything in my 39 years of being on this planet, the one thing I've learned is if you're going to do something, you got to keep pounding. Like, good things always come out of continue to pound. That's a joke. Lighten up a little bit, fellas. All right, let's do our little outside the league here segment here as we talk about the TFL, the OMFL2, and the NBC. I'm calling out the OMFL2. Chaotic. You have not. You continue. This is like the 3rd show in a row where you ignore my PMs about getting some updates about the OMFL2. They're rolling along. I got a whole rant and rave about the OMFL2 on the last 2 shows that I did, so go back and listen to that. Guys need to remain more patient. I even sent out messages to OMFL guys that play in the OMFL2 to be a better example to these young guys. They're not kids, they're men, but to these young, young as in part of the OMFL part. A lot of them young in CFM. Like, be a better example to them about what the OMFL is all about. I know the gameplay is not the same. It's not supposed to be the same. The OMFL2 is doing what it was created to do, and you either dig that and want to be a part of that, or you don't dig it and you don't want to be a part of it, but stop making everybody's life a living hell about it. So I don't have any updates about them. I know they're rolling along, still trying to get them full. We're getting close to getting them full again, and we're going to keep working on that. The TFL, they enter week 9 of the league, and they voted to move back down to all-pro settings. So far, all Madden, the offensive numbers are way below what Sim League should be looking for, and the defensive ones are complete, vice versa. Look, that is what all Madden is. There is that little bit of a rubber band effect as you got to get used to all Madden, but we have seen with adjusted all Madden sliders and some time, guys will get those offensive numbers up. And our offensive, to be honest, I know that we went through like 6-7 weeks of hell there, but our numbers are really close to the NFL, and I think that we're spot on. Some slight adjustments in the run game blocking and the pass game blocking, because both of them are some pretty extreme numbers. But I think we have the defensive reaction, defensive coverage, speed, injury, penalty. I think everything else is pretty spot on for us, and there'll just be slight movements in there. The TFL also says, while the CPU games have not been bad at all, it's actually the user versus user games where the slider issues really show themselves, making a 200-yard passing game feel like it's 400 yards. And that's true, and we see that here in the OMFL as well. Otherwise, the league is moving at a nice pace, and everyone is getting into the playoff push at the midway point. And so that's a quick update of what the TFL is at. The NBC, our buddy Pootie T, who's on the show here with us, he says the battle of the undefeated. Lions defeat the Vikings 41-16 in Week 9 to remain the only undefeated team. The Raiders' defense leads the league with 38 takeaways between interceptions and forced fumbles. Yep, that's what a takeaway is, Pootie T, by Week 10. And then finally, his last update is Josh Allen still leads the league in passing yards for the Buffalo Bills, if I have that right. I'm pretty sure he plays for the Buffalo Bills. So that's the Outside the League segment as we get updates from the OMFL2, the NBC, and the TFL. 3 really amazing leagues to go along with the OMFL. Lots to choose from. There's been so much activity in the community as a whole. This community really is hitting its stride, and this is what I had envisioned when it was created about 4 years ago now. And I'm just super honored that all of you guys are a part of that. So let's put a bow on it. Let's wrap this show up. I'm off to go see a movie with the wife, eat more popcorn than any human should devour in one sitting, and probably try to get her to take me out to eat somewhere fancy, wine and dine me so she can get me in bed and take advantage of me, because I see her staring at me right now. Hey, we're all adults. Like we all like that. I've been married 20 years. Like, that's allowed. I'm allowed to do that. All right. So let's put a bow in the show. Maniac, bring us home. What do you think about weeks 7 through 9 here in the OMFL?
Well, it's definitely with the slider change. It's helped the offensive side of the ball. We're seeing numbers come up. Offensive scoring is coming up, and I'm like you. I think the sliders are right about where they need to be with slight adjustments. But really looking forward to seeing how the playoff races in both the AFC and NFC are going to pan out. A lot of close races there. The AFC is just a pile. I mean, anything.
You need to define what that means.
There is just a gridlock of all different teams there with, 6 wins. Anything could happen. I know the NFC. I think we've taken on the label that the AFC had last Madden, where it's kind of like who's actually going to win what division, because there's we got, for goodness sake, we got a 3-5 team that could, with one win, could be in the playoffs. And the AFC, you're going to have at least 10 to 11 wins to even think about getting the last playoff spot. So I think there's a big difference in the power from each division. But I think things are moving in the right direction for the league, and I'm looking forward to see what happens. And happy birthday!
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Dawson, bring us home. Put a bow on the show.
Yeah, happy birthday. Games are moving in pretty quick. Getting ready to, I guess, finish up the season in the next couple of weeks. Play clean, and go Hogs.
All right, so here is my bet. Since you said go Hogs, it's going to be late. And listen, it's going to be late in the season, all right? But you run the gold sheet, so you have the power to do this. My Tigers win. I want my $100 buy-in back.
Oh. We might can do that.
Okay.
All right. We can do that because, I'm
going to be way behind anyway, so I'd have to double down every single week. But
sometimes the house is winning, or the house is winning lately. So there is it's been good games, good bids, I should say, and it's steadily. It's not no outright winner right now, so that's good. And for the guys, the owners that are not bidding or haven't even placed a bid, you still got $100 right there. It's not like I'm going to mail it to you, but you got.
I love the gold sheet, and I'm telling you right now, I want you to help me with this. The next show, so next weekend when we do the show, let's do a whole segment about the gold sheet. Just kind of talk about the gold sheet. Like we promote it on the forums, but we have a couple lazy people that may not know what it is, and so help me make sure that we promote and talk about the gold sheet. D-Wayne, bring us home. Put a bow on the show.
Guys, remember to schedule your games, or Bill will track you down.
Bill may come to your house.
Bill may come to your house. If y'all haven't noticed, in his scheduling post, he's starting to get antsy with some of his writing. He's starting to change it up. It don't take much to push him over the edge with the scheduling.
It doesn't take much to put Bill over the edge about anything.
You're exactly right. Like I said, the games are they're moving pretty fast, kind of flying through the season. I had to actually look up when you said Outlaw was talking about hit power in a question. I had to go look and see what he was talking about to make sure he wasn't talking bad about hit power. But yeah, I think everybody you still see a lot of activity. Content's still good. Guys are still excited. I know some guys are a lot less excited now, but just remember it is season 1, and there's always growing pains for somebody. Somebody's going to go through growing pains in season 1. And but other than that, man, I'm just excited. Tune in at 9 Eastern tonight to watch me with Brady. And I'm joking. I don't want to give him any bulletin board material. But yeah, 9 o'clock NFC South matchup going down. I'm going to show Brady who the real running guy is. Okay, I'm done. But happy birthday, Nate. You turned 29 today, right?
Yeah, 39, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, it's been a good show, and I'm excited. And go enjoy your birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. A couple of closing thoughts from me, and then I'm going to shut up and wrap this thing up. So much that you guys have brought up that I wanted to bring up. Pootie T, if you didn't hear it, because I think you may have logged off for work or whatever, I did talk about your your tweet to EA about the spin move. You might want to check that out. And Pootie T brings up a good thing in the chat on YouTube, and that is we do have open teams. And so if you're checking us out or watching the podcast, the Dolphins and Cardinals are open, and the NBC. I don't know what teams in the TFL are open, but I know they have just a handful of teams, and the OMFL has like 7 or 8 teams that are OMFL 2 has 7 or 8 teams that are open. So if you're looking for a great community that plays a whole lot of other different games, has connected Discord with the forums and codes, there's over 200 codes that you can find everything that you can need. If you're looking for an integrated website with the forums, blog posts, all that fun stuff, it's all there for you, and you can definitely come check us out. Go to grownfolksoc.com/join-us, and that's the application that you can send in. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm just super duper excited. My mic's acting up. Super duper excited about everything that we got going on. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'll also just say the content is flowing. Most content that we've ever seen from the NBC. And guess why? Well, they started a incentive plan. See how it's not confusing. It's not hard. Put an incentive out there, and people step up to the plate each and every time. We started an incentive plan, I don't know, 15 seasons ago, 2 Maddens ago, something. And it has been one of the greatest ideas that we've ever had. So thanks, NBC, for all of the content that you're creating. OMFL, I want you to help you create your own personal pages on the Daddy Leagues page. If you post a blog and just select your team name, it will post it to your team page. And so all the blogs that you're posting on our website, if you just copy what you do there and go post it on Daddy Leagues, you can have a really cool page for your team. Like I can show you what they look like right now. We'll look at my New Orleans Saints because I got a couple of blogs that are posted. You can just take a screenshot of this, and you've got a really cool graphic for your team page. And it's got everything that you need there. So you have a link that you can send out with all your team blogs for your personal page, your team stats. It's just an easy way for you to create your own personal team page for your team by just copying and pasting the blogs that you've got out there. But I will say there's more content out there than I can even begin to keep up with. There's tons and tons of stuff. I will make a push. If you are looking for something different, check out our Wrestle Wars episodes, our GFW, the Grown Folks Wrestling League. We just had our Go Home show for our last pay-per-view. Our last pay-per-view is being created right now. This is the last game before the new game drops. And so if you're looking for something different, something to be entertained by, then make sure that you go check this out. And give it a watch. We sure would appreciate your support. There's just tons and tons of really, really great content out there. And I will also say, FPR-wise, we're catching up with FPR. I'm trying to stay on top of it. I had to take that over for Chaotix and tag some other board members to give me a hand with that. And that's just because the poor guy is working 7/12s right now and he can't keep up. It's impossible. Look, feedback is what it is. If it's really bad feedback, I get somebody to watch film and get me numbers. If it's not really feedback, it's just like little minor stuff. I just tell you, hey, heads up, keep this in mind, think about it. If you disagree with it, then don't worry about it. If I start seeing it on 2 or 3 of them, then we'll have to worry about it. We'll have to go back and watch some film and follow up. There are some conversations I need to follow up from, but I need some time to do that because it's my birthday. And I'm going to go try to enjoy some time with the wife. But overall, things are moving really, really fast, really, really smooth. I love all the activity from all the different leagues. And most of all, I'm glad the slider thing is finished. Like, there's some minor tweaks that we will do here very soon just to kind of get a feel. But we are there, and I'm about to call it a day. Happy or not, this is what the sliders are going to be. And then you guys can go out and build your teams to fit the sliders because in my opinion, and I think all 3 of you agree, we are there, we have found them, and they fit for us. And it's exactly what we need. So, look, thank you guys so much for waking up early on a Saturday morning. Many of you on very little sleep. Go take a nap. Go get a drink. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's get ready for some LSU Ole Miss and then some Saints and New York Giants and a little birthday celebration. But I appreciate you guys a ton. I'm looking forward There needs to be a new Tony Bono show that's coming out here soon. So hopefully one will drop here over the weekend, and we'll get to check out some Tony Bono. I love me some Tony Bono. It is one of my favorite things that we have here, and just a really great piece of content. I can't wait to hear the next one. So for Dwayne, for Dawson, for Maniac, for all the leadership here at the OMFL, thank you so much for listening to Press Pass Live. I hope that you have a blessed week. We will see you next time and Press Pass Live here in the OMFL. God bless and peace.
Later.